So I'm going to talk about how to let go of the past. I'm going to share some of my personal experiences, and I'm going to answer some of your questions. So stick around. Tapping into the true potential of the human spirit. This is Humanity Empowered. This is the Implicit Show. Hello, and welcome to the Implicit Show. My name is Brent Dubé. I'm your host today. All right, guys. I'm going to expand a little bit on what we talked about yesterday in yesterday's episode. So yesterday it was Q&A Tuesday. Now on Q&A Tuesday, I pop up your comments on the screen and we talk about a certain subject. And yesterday was about how to be positive. If you guys haven't checked out that episode, I seriously urge you to go check that out because it was a super great episode. It was super cool to just, hear different people's perspectives on positivity and kind of what it takes to get positive, because we hear it all the time. The only way you're going to be successful is if you have a positive frame of mind. You got to think good, you got to be positive, all this talk about it, but how do you actually do it? Right. And so that's yesterday's episode. I highly suggest you guys go and watch that. But today, today's episode is based on a question I got from somebody who's a fan of the show, and they asked, how do I let go of the past? How do I let go of something in the past that may have happened or whatever, but it's so deep rooted in who they are at this point. Maybe it was like a decade ago, 2 decades ago, whatever it was, right? There's something that happened in the past, and it's become their identity. It's become who they are, and they want to let go of it, but it's tough because they've been holding on to this for so long. I don't know if you guys might be able to relate, but yeah, I could kind of relate myself. I remember for a long time I was just super. I tell this story all the time. I was just not in a great place. I wasn't very happy with my life, and I've been able to really come to accept life for the way it is. And today I just want to talk about I want to offer you guys some of the things that have helped me along my journey when it comes to letting go of the past and just moving on, right? Because we've all got something in our past, and sometimes it's so far back in the past we can't even remember it. Some psychologists have found out, like, we've got memories, bad memories or whatever you want to call them, negative associations that root back to when we were like a small child, maybe like a baby, 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5, right? Those young ages, everything that happens is so, it's like the entire world, right? And so that's something it's something we could think about is, a lot of times those memories that we have might not even be, we can't even remember them, but they've created associations in our nervous system, and we kind of just do things. We kind of just become that, right? We got Rachel Johnson here. What is up, Rachel Johnson? Always a pleasure. Always good to have you. Let me know if you have any experience with this, Rachel. If you have any questions regarding, how to let go of the past. It's something that we all kind of deal with, I'm sure, from time to time. And I want to make sure that, it's not just my perspective here, but it's also your perspective. So I took down a few notes before we got on the call here because I wanted to make sure that, we stay on track. And here's some of the things I wrote. We all have some experience of pain or suffering at some point in our lives, right? So that's the first thing to recognize is, like, you're not alone. And we say this a lot on the show, and I think it's super important to say that and to repeat it, because repetition is the mother of skill, as we say all the time as well. Because look, we oftentimes we think, this has happened to me or that's happened to me, and I'm the only one who feels this way, and we start to feel alone, and I think that's not going to get us anywhere. If we feel like we're the only person going through this, it's tough, right? But when we know that, this is something that other people have dealt with and they've been able to overcome and get through, they've been able to let go of the past, some things comparably worse to what you might think. There's some people who have, Nelson Mandela is an example I love, because, he went to prison for a crime he didn't even really commit. They put him in prison, and for like 25 years, it's a quarter of a decade. And he come out of prison and he let go of the past. He said, okay, let go of all that. That's all in the past. What we're going to do is we're going to move forward, right? We're going to change the country. We're going to change the world. That's super inspiring, right? And so recognize that these people have been through crazy things and they've been able to let go of it. So that's super powerful. Second thing I wrote here is, some people may still be holding on to a memory from years and years ago, and it's now become part of their identity or how we define ourselves. That's something that I think is really important to recognize as well. Sometimes we let certain experiences define who we are, right? Because, let me give you an example. Because a terrible example, but you know what I'm saying? Because in the past, when I was growing up, I played basketball, so I'm a basketball player. That's just who I am. I've always had a basketball in my house. There was always basketball at school. I was basketball all the time. I figured I'm just a basketball player, right? But that all that really is a decision. That's who you are. Another example, laziness. Oh, I just don't feel like doing some things, or I know in the past when I took on a project, I couldn't quite get it done in time. So maybe I'm a procrastinator. That's who I am. We let these kind of things define us, define who we are, or I'm just this kind of person because that happened in the past, right? And we allow that to limit where we're going to go in the future, and that's not going to get us anywhere, right? That's kind of the idea here. I also wrote, oftentimes these can be negative experiences which can create lasting fear, anxiety, or phobias. So people who have phobias, oftentimes it's because of a negative experience or a negative association that they had in the past. For example, maybe somebody who is afraid of like spiders. Like for me, I'll tell you guys, I was so afraid of spiders. If you knew me back in school, like I was crazy afraid of spiders. And if you think of it this way, you have one bad experience with a spider. Maybe, you're just hanging out there, just chilling, just, minding your own business, not bugging anybody. And out of nowhere, a spider comes and plops on your face and it tickles you and it's like scary. And you're just like, oh no, right? And you get really afraid. Or maybe a spider's bitten you. And then so you have this, this physical pain from the spider, and you say, oh man, like spiders equal pain. Spiders are pain. Spiders are bad, right? And so you create that association. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's something like, for some people, it's like relationships, right? They have one bad relationship in the past that went really, really bad. And then for the future, for the rest of their lives, they think, oh, relationships are good. I'd love to be in a relationship. There's love. There's all this good stuff there. But there's going to be pain because I know this because I've had this experience in the past. And so they allow that to become a phobia or become a fear or lead to anxiety. And that's the problem here. That's what we're trying to overcome, right? Because that's not going to get you anywhere in life. It just ends all things that you want. Anyways, we've got a comment here from Rachel I really want to acknowledge. And Rachel says she wants to let go she wants to let go of being put in a foster home as a child. That's what she's saying here. So that's another thing, if that's something that you've carried with you, you felt bad, or you felt like maybe you're not loved because, you were put in a foster home, your parents didn't take you, maybe whatever that was, right? These steps are going to help you, Rachel. I really hope they do. So I'm excited for you to listen to this, because I hope that this really helps you overcome that kind of experience, because I mean, how long ago was that, Rachel? How long ago was that in the past, right? And you've done so many amazing things since. So it's super cool. Let's just start right off the bat. Let's just give her. Okay, I'll tell you guys the 3 steps that I wrote down here. The first step I wrote down is simple. It says, demonize the habit or behavior that dwelling on the past creates. So oftentimes, we dwell on the past, we dwell on a certain experience, and that experience brings about a certain habit or a certain behavior, right? Like procrastination, laziness, depression, anxiety, fear, right? It brings on a state or a habit, right? First thing you want to do is demonize that thing. And what I mean, I use the word demonize because I want it to sound super dramatic. And what I mean by that is you want to make it sound like it is the worst thing in the world, right? If you're a procrastinator and you procrastinate all the time, you want to convince your brain, convince your nervous system, and most importantly, convince your subconscious mind that this habit of procrastination is ultimate pain. Like, it's so bad. It's keeping you from doing this and that. And you can never follow through. You can never make the kind of money you want to make the kind of impact you want to make, do the kind of career you want to make, have the kind of relationships you want to make, physically get into the good shape, mentally get into a good shape, spiritually get into good shape, right? All these things. It's keeping you from all these amazing aspects that you could have in life. Life's only so short, and you just keep procrastinating and it just keeps on going by, right? It's just an example I'm trying to give you. But what I'm saying is you make it sound so bad that your brain's like, holy, like I will not live another day off. And the whole point here is you want to experience a ton of pain. Like, you want to feel bad. You want to feel so painful. Like, man, the way I've been behaving is so bad. And the reason you do this is because our brains are not made to make us happy. They're not made to make us joyful. Our brains are literally built so that we can survive, right, in the wild. And so part of that survival mechanism is fear and pain, and it looks for your brain's always looking for areas where am I going to get pain? Where am I going to be, where should I be afraid? Should I be afraid of that? Because if I should be afraid of that, then I got to get out of there, right? I got to do something. And so when you make this habit or this behavior or this memory or whatever, you make it sound like the worst thing in the entire world, your brain's going to be like, wow, I need to get rid of this. this is so bad, right? Rather than like, yeah, I know this thing's kind of hold me back. I know it's not really how I want to live. I know it's, a detriment to my life, but what am I going to do, right? Instead of having that behavior, you need to get aggressive. You need to get pissed off and angry. That's because think about it, right? Yeah, maybe, yeah, I'll kind of do it. Yeah, I don't know. That energy is not going to get you anywhere. But when you're pissed off, when you're angry, right? When you're like upset, you're frustrated, and like I will not live like this anymore. You will not tolerate another day. That's when things change, man. That's when things change. So step one, guys, let me give Rachel Johnson an example here, because she mentioned being put into a foster home as a child. And so maybe what this behavior or this memory in the past has, maybe it's held her back from loving fully and connecting with people fully, because maybe she feels, I don't know if I could really love fully, because if I do, I might have pain. I was put into a foster home before. People don't really love me. Like, can I really love fully if people don't really love me, right? That might be something she's thinking. I'm not trying to, create a story for Rachel Johnson. I'm just trying to create an example, right? What Rachel would want to do in that situation is she would want to say, okay, well, what kind of behavior or what kind of habit has that led to me doing, right? That maybe it leads to her not loving fully. It leads to her struggling with connecting with her kids, or struggling with connecting with her husband, or struggling with connecting with people at work, or whatever she's doing, right? And so she would get pissed off. She'd get upset. She'd be like, no, I will no longer stand for that behavior. Why? Because every second that I allow this thing to hold me back, every second I allow it to hold me back is a second that I don't have love. It's a second that I'm not enjoying my life fully. It's a second that passes me by and life is short. It's a second that, I don't have to make a legacy, and I don't have to affect, or influence the people around me, right? She gets so upset about that habit or that thing that her brain's like, okay, I need to let this go. I need to get rid of it. And then we move on to step two. Step two is simple, guys. It's as simple as just doing the opposite of what we just did. So what we just did was we made the habit or the current situation so bad that we have to change it. And now step two is we want to create a vision for what's next, but for what we actually want, right? So we're not just going to say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. That's powerful. It's good to know what you don't want, but we're going to switch it and be like, okay, what do I want? What kind of behaviors do I want? Well, how do I want to think? How do I want to feel? How do I want to behave? And that's power. Because now we basically want to link pain to the current situation and pleasure to the potential situation. Our vision, what we want to see, what our goal is, how we want to act, how we want life to be. And so that process could be like, the last process is like, oh, this situation is so bad, so bad, so bad that I need to change it. I need to change it. I cannot have this anymore. And then the next step two is this situation, that what I want is so good, so inspiring, so empowering, so motivating that I have to go get it, right? You need a why so big that just really makes you want to get there. And so we got a comment here from Karen Richards. What's up, Karen? Always a pleasure. And she says, I was abused in a hospital when I was little. I was angry at the world for so long, and then I realized my anger was ruining my life. I demonized my anger and replaced hate with love. Boom. See, I love that. Karen, thank you so much for sharing, because that's a real life example of what we're talking about here. She says, she was abused in a hospital and she felt so angry, and it basically, she was living with all this anger and hate until she demonized it, or another word of saying it, she made it so bad that it was like, she really made it real about how much this anger and how much this hate was a detriment to her life. And she decided, I will replace it with love. And that's what we're talking about. Step two is replacing it with something else, something that you really want. She wanted love. And so for you, if it's, and if we want to use the Rachel Johnson example again, she says maybe she wants to connect with her family more. Maybe she really wants to build deep, meaningful relationships with new people. Maybe she wants to create memories with her family, and she wants to do it in a loving way, and raise a great family and do good for her kids, like her parents, or maybe like her foster parents wanted to do or tried to do for her. And so that could be something that she's after. Just thoughts, guys. Thoughts. It's good. Let's see. The third thing I wrote here is, this is an interesting one. I like this one a lot. Because it works. It's weird, it's unorthodox, but it works. You guys just saw that. iTunes didn't see that, but I'm spilling water all over myself. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Excuse me, guys. I hope you guys could, excuse me for that. Just spilling water all over myself. Okay. I give you guys some anticipation. The third step here is scramble the memory and break your patterns. And what I mean by that is you have this memory, this negative thing that happened. You were abused, you were cheated, you were lied to, you were deceived, whatever it was. You have this bad situation in your mind, and it's led all throughout the years. You've held on to this, and it's eventually led to you developing bad habits that are a detriment to your life, because maybe you've got this resentment, this hate, this anger, this fear, whatever that you're holding on to. The thing I want to offer you to try is to scramble the memory. And so what I mean by that is you've got this memory, and when you play it in your head, you see it a certain way, right? When you think about it, you see it a certain way. It's like a record player. When you take a record, you put it on the record player, it plays a song. It plays a certain song. And you could go in your mind, you could grab certain memories, take them out and play that memory, just like how you could take a record out and play the record. If this is making sense to you, I hope it does. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope you're getting it. So what the idea here is, you could take records or take memories out of your mind and scramble them. Or in other words, if you're going to take a record out of you take a record, you're going to take a knife and you're going to scratch it. You're going to scratch the record, scratch it, and then you're going to put it back and try to play it again. And it's not going to play the same because you just scratched it, right? And just like you're going to scratch these records to ruin them, to never be able to play them the same again, you're going to do the same with your memories. You're going to go to your memories and you're going to scramble them. You're going to scratch them. You're going to mix them all up. You're going to make them really weird. You're going to maybe you're going to add silly sounds, or you're going to add silly visuals or colors, or you're going to see it playing out differently. You're going to see it maybe in reverse, and then in slow motion, and then in fast motion, and then in reverse again, right? You're going to scramble the memory and think about it in all these different weird ways. And what this does is it breaks the pattern. You'll never be able, because if you think about it in a silly way, you're creating new associations to that memory. So anytime you go to think of that memory in the future or go to play that record, it's not going to play the same. It's going to play differently because you've scratched all over it. It's like when you take I don't know if you guys remember like VHS. So when you take a VHS and you record over it, right? That's what we're trying to do. Is you have a memory. Okay, that's cool. But we're going to scratch it up, mess it up, and record over it. Something better, something cool, something that you want to remember. The last thing I really want to say here, and I want to keep this episode short and sweet because, I don't overcomplicate it. The third thing I really want to say, the last thing I need to say is things are going to happen in life. They happen all the time. You cannot control what happens to you. You just can't. Things are going to happen, man. Like it's going to rain. The weather's going to rain. Things are going to happen. People are going to lie. People are going to cheat. People are going to steal. You can't control those things, but ultimately you can control what it means to you, right? When stuff happens, like guys, if I'm talking to you right now, if it weren't for the English language, you wouldn't even understand what I'm saying, right? I could be telling you how much I hate you. I could be insulting you in a different language, and you don't understand the language. You don't understand anything because those words don't trigger anything. The word I hate you triggers something inside of you. I can't like hit you with hate. I say hate and then you create it within you. I say love and you create that feeling within you. So in other words, every emotion, thought, behavior, whatever it is, it all comes from within you, and you have that power. You have that control. You can't control what people say, what people do, the weather, the president, the this, the that, but you can control yourself. And so that's where you got to put most of your focus, right? Ignore the news, ignore the gossip, ignore the bullshit, and focus on yourself, because that's your power. Your power is what you can do. Your power is who you are and who you become. And it's a philosophy that's completely changed my life, and I need to share it with other people because maybe it could change yours. I don't know where you are right now. I don't know if you're in the best time of your life or if you're really struggling. I don't know, but I know that it's these kind of ideas, philosophies, and strategies that have completely changed everything for me, and I need to share it. I have to. So we got one more comment here from Karen. She says, "This is so true. Often bad things make us who we are and teach us such valuable lessons." Boom. What, I was going to leave, but I got one more thing to say. A lot of the things I'm learning here, a lot of things I'm sharing with you are things that I've learned. I mean, I didn't come up with this stuff. I wasn't born empowered. I wasn't born I wasn't always happy and positive and on track and like in control of my life. I really wasn't. And I'm still not all that there yet. I'm still on a path. I'm still making it happen. I'm not perfect by any means. But what I've learned is it's all the bad things, all the problems that you have. It really, it it's exactly what you need. Like the problem, Tony Robbins says this. He says your problem is you think you shouldn't have any problems. Like problems are exactly what make you grow. I mean, I always say this, the people who have changed the world the most are also the people who have gone through some of the most adversity, the most pain, the most injustice, right? These people, you could think of people like Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, all these people who have gone on to change the way we think as cultures, to change the way we act, to change the way we feel and behave and everything. And they went through tough times. They went through some shit, man. Like you think you went through some shit. They went through some shit. But the truth is suffering, right? I suffered. I went through my rock bottom, man. I was depressed. I was suicidal. And yet I was still richer than most people in the world. Right. And you see celebrities like this too, who are, they, from the outside, it looks like they have it all, but from the inside, they don't have anything figured out. And so they, some of them take drugs, some of them take their own lives, some of them just give up. And so at the end of the day, it's all a game with, it's all in you, right? The money's not going to make you happy. The burnout's not going to make you happy. None of that stuff's going to fulfill you as much as you just doing what is important to you and you learning to take control of your life and take responsibility. And so those are some of the things I want to say. I could talk for days. You guys know this, but I'm going to cut you short today. Tomorrow we've got a special guest. I'm super excited. So I want you guys to make sure you tune in for that. If you guys liked this video, I mean, just like it, comment, share it with a friend. Subscribe, write a review, whatever you got to do. I appreciate all the support that you guys give us as a team and the Implicit team, myself, everybody. If you guys want to, if you want to join the Implicit team, you let me know. Let's get in touch. You could help us out. If you guys want to be on the show, let me know. You could help us out. If you guys want to support what we're doing at Implicit, go to patreon.com/implicit and you get a ton of cool rewards and you could support us. And that'd mean the world to us because then we could get our message out there to more people. We could do more. And just keep on loving life. Keep on smiling. Peace.